It's a beautiful sunny afternoon, and I've been lounging on the bed watching Mom dutifully organize my home. She's a diligent worker, and I appreciate her meticulous approach to housekeeping. My interior design preferences could be described as elegant, with a hint of superiority, but it all starts with cleanliness. In my opinion, decor can hardly be considered elegant if it's dirty. I think I agree with you, but I gotta tell you something. Cleaning is not my favorite thing to do, although I guess it was before I had kids. What do you think about that, Pumpkin? I think children can be very dirty, but the nice ones will clean up and then I will help them. Mom is an essential part of my design and maintenance team, although she doesn't take direction well. We're working on her communication skills because she doesn't understand feline. Is that true? Well, he says I'm getting better. You would think that after all these years she would have developed a rudimentary understanding of the language, but alas, she struggles in this department. We have established a system of facial expressions, meaningful looks, meows, purrs, and other body language cues that generally do the trick. It's mainly about her understanding and responding to me, not the other way around. I do what I want. Anyway, Mom began cleaning up this morning without any encouragement. She's come to understand my preferences and is taking the initiative to carry out my wishes. I no longer have to assign chores because she is so well trained and completes them on her own. I like to monitor her proceedings to ensure that everything is done to my high standards. In any situation, I believe you get the best results by being present and overseeing the task. This helps with accountability so Mom doesn't start slacking off on the job. She's currently scrubbing the floors, and I watch with mild interest as she drags around a long stick with a white pad attached to the bottom. It sprays out floral smelling liquid and is then used to mop the area, dispersing the liquid in the general vicinity. This process leaves the floor shiny and clean, but the scent lingers, and I find it a bit overpowering. I make a note to request odorless cleaning supplies for the next round of chores. Mom systematically moves around the room and is incredibly thorough, most likely because I'm closely monitoring her progress. After cleaning the floor, she begins wiping down surfaces with a fresh towel. She first removes all the loose items from the furniture before spraying it with more pungent liquid and scrubbing it with a cloth to make it shine and appear brand new. I flick one ear nervously as she moves toward the nightstand that holds my water cup because I despise when people disturb my possessions. She places my cup on the floor and I wince as the ground is dirty, and for cleanliness reasons, the cup should never be placed there. Although the floor has recently been sanitized, I continue to object to this practice and will have to insist that she simply transfer it to the other nightstand in the future. I try not to focus on the cup and instead stare out the window until this chore is completed. I climb to my feet and rush over to inspect the damage. The cup is almost perfectly aligned on the small stone coaster, the purpose of which I don't fully understand. Maybe it raises the cup to my preferred drinking height, which I appreciate. I take a tiny sip and use my nose to gently nudge the cup back into position. All is well again, and I sigh in relief. You know, Pumpkin, I think you're a little bit too picky. Maybe you should relax. I am relaxed when everything is the way I want it. Mom has moved on to the next room, so I step to the end of the bed and keep an eye on her. It's a warm day, so the internal temperature control system activates. One of the wall vents blows directly on me from my vantage point, and I enjoy the cool breeze. I scoot over to bask in the artificial wind, raise my head high, and close my eyes. I take long, relaxing breaths and try to quiet my racing thoughts. For a brief period, the world is silent, and I slip into a peaceful state of mind. As I relax, my mouth drops open, revealing my pink tongue. My long whiskers flutter gently as the chilly air caresses them. It tickles a little, but it also is a soothing feeling. This continues for a few minutes before the mechanical temperature system shuts down and the air is still again. I open my eyes after the blissful moment, feeling rejuvenated and energized. I shake my head, unsure what to do next. Mom is making a lot of noise as she continues with her chores and disappears into the bathroom. In violation of my rules and regulations, she closes the door behind her. I've mandated that all doors remain open in this house so I may come and go at my leisure. Mom is aware of this rule but often forgets and has to be reminded. I hop down and stroll across the now sanitary floor, approaching the closed door. I let out a soft meow and wait for Mom to respond. Meow. She's definitely in there, but doesn't immediately answer my request for entry. Hey, remember what I said about closing doors? Open this at once and let me in, I yell. I don't like to be kept waiting. Meow! Meow! I rise onto my back paws and pound my paws against the door a few times, meowing simultaneously. I hear movement and the door cracks open, allowing me to squeeze inside. Mom shoves it closed again, and I survey the situation. She's seated on the human equivalent of my sandbox, which is basically a white bowl full of water. I always wonder why she doesn't use a normal sandbox. To give her some privacy, I turn my back and stare at the closed door. My sandbox has a cover, so no one can see what I'm doing in there. I feel that she deserves the same courtesy, although this room is much larger and my presence is minimally invasive. A moment later, I hear the sound of rushing water. This step of the process always makes me uneasy because I despise uncontrolled water. Mom then walks over to the sink, where water falls into a sunken cavity and flows back down a hole. She runs her hands under the water and dries them on a hanging towel. I don't know what this accomplishes, and I'm disturbed that she voluntarily gets wet and then wipes the water on a perfectly comfy looking towel that could serve as additional bedding if it were dry on the ground. Alas, I know there are human habits that I'll never understand, and I try to accept them and not judge my humans too harshly. Okay, I do judge Mom for this, but I keep that to myself. Mom opens the small door beneath the sink, places something inside the cabinet, and closes it with a thud. She then strides out of the room to resume her cleaning duties. There are still a few hours remaining in her shift, and I'm delighted with her enthusiasm. In her absence, I turn my full attention to the compartment. I'm curious about its contents and take issue with this door being closed. I paw at the little polished handle in an effort to gain a firm grip. Because of my silky fur, it only opens an inch before I lose contact and it slams shut again. I repeat this process, first with one paw and then with the other. My efforts are rewarded with thud sounds that grow louder and more frequent as my technique improves. Mom peers into the room and observes my activities. I raise my head and give her a look that says, "There's nothing to see here." She usually tells me to stop doing stuff like this, but I never listen. I generally try to stay hidden and avoid detection so I can snoop at my leisure. To my surprise, Mom slowly opens the cabinet door and does not deter me from entering. I watch her for a moment, trying to determine her motives. Curiosity wins, and I peek into the tiny space. It's crammed with bottles and rolls of soft paper. I turn my nose up at the stench of the containers, which smell like the cleaning solutions Mom has been using. There isn't much of interest here, but there's a sliver of unoccupied space in the back that I want to search for hidden treasure. I tread carefully around the bottles, knocking one or two of them over in the process. They roll out of the cabinet and across the floor, but Mom can pick them up later. There's limited room to move around, but the empty space toward the back has just enough square footage for me to sit down. I look around, taking a quick inventory of the supplies that Mom is stockpiling. This is an excellent hiding space if I can solve the polished handle issue. Growing bored of the confined space, I amble out, knocking a few more bottles over along the way. I wander between Mom's legs, softly rubbing against her as a thank you for hard work and assistance in accessing the secret compartment. Then I retire to my bedroom for an afternoon nap, confident that she'll complete the remaining chores without my supervision. My work is finished here.